Welcome, everyone. My name is Caprice Jones. I'm the Executive Director of the Founding Youth Program in Dubuque, Iowa. And today we have a historical moment. We have individuals that are from the judicial system, far as with courts, also with jails, and as well as with Iowa State Department of Corrections. And we also have city leaders, and we have individuals that has been on the other side of things. But they also are all American citizens, and they are also returned back into the communities to be a part of the solutions. And today, we're going to be having a discussion about the innovative approaches that the state of Iowa has put together as far as with reentry. And also, we're going to be open to some new suggestions that probably be brought up to look at some things that may could be innovative towards the future. And we have Beth Skinner. She's our special guest today, as well as everyone else. But she's the lead guest because she agreed to come upon this Facebook Live so that she can be a part of solutions. And I'm grateful for that. Thank you. And so Katrina Carter, she's the director of reentry programs in the state of Iowa. And so she plays a key role with the returning citizens from the system. And she will be co-facilitating with me in a major way. So take it from here, Katrina.
Hello, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me. As Caprice mentioned, I am the Director of Reentry and Treatment Services for the Iowa Department of Corrections. I'm starting my 21st year with the department. I'm just so pleased to be here today. We had mentioned a while ago about firsts, and this is a first for a lot of us being together virtually. And so just very pleased. I tell you, the connections that we have with our community agencies help people stay out of prison or help them from not going to prison. And so without all of us here and all of you who are viewing, we just can't do it alone. The Department of Corrections cannot do it alone. We need the networks, we need you. And we're so very thankful for you. I will be having our speakers introduce themselves, and I'll be keeping them on a very tight timeline, and I've probably already gone over it myself. So I would ask Dr. Beth Skinner to please introduce herself.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Katrina, and thank you, Caprice, and all the panelists. This is, like I said, this is historic. This is what it really all is about. It's about partnership, building bridges, collaboration, and believing in hope and change. So for me, just being here today and having all the various different individuals on this panel says a lot to me that we're all wanting that change. And I'm very, very excited to be here. Just a quick background. I've been the Director of Corrections now for a little over a year. I've been in the field working in corrections, criminal justice for about 18 years. I know I look like I'm 18, but I hold my age well. I've worked in community-based corrections for about 10 years, spent about 3.5 years on the national scene with the Council of State Governments Justice Center, advising correctional administrators on the best practices and reentry. I've been here back in Iowa in the last 5 years as the statewide recidivist reduction coordinator and the research director. So very proud to work in this system. I believe we have one of the best systems in the country. Do I think we can improve in a lot of ways? Heck yes. And that's why I'm here to listen to you all, how we can do a better job, how we can be a better system, and how we can serve individuals. So when we return back into their communities, they can be successful. So thank you. Hopefully I didn't run over my 2 minutes. I'm really excited to be here today. So thank you.
Thank you. Our next participant, Amber Connolly, please.
Hey all, my name is Amber Connolly, and I am a counselor at the Anamosa State Penitentiary. I also do handle our reentry services here at the facility. And I am super, super excited to be here. I think it's great also that our director is on this call. This is awesome. I'm so happy to be a part of this, and I can't wait to kind of talk to you guys about what we're doing here and listen to hear what we can do even better. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
CJ May, please.
Yeah, unmute yourself. You gotta unmute yourself, CJ.
All right, is that working?
Yeah.
Perfect. Sorry about that.
Now you have less time, so.
I'm not as good at this tech stuff as Caprice is. So anyway, my name is CJ May. I'm the Dubuque County Attorney. I've been in this office for about 1.5 years now. I believe, I grew up in Dubuque here. I was educated here. I was here, when all the jargon went on, like when the last one out, please turn out the lights. And a whole bunch of things that followed that. So I've seen many, many changes in our community. I practiced law here for now it's been over 36 years. So I always tell people I started when I was 12. I think that, for us to keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different outcome, is unreasonable, and it's rather ridiculous in these times. I think that we are very much staged for reform. I think the public wants it. I think the public needs it. I think all of us that are involved in the judicial, the justice system, and it starts, and we'll hear from Sheriff Kennedy, but all the way up through the judiciary. I mean, we all have our role in this, and we're all going to need to be on board with one another. And I think that, this says a lot for all of us sitting here in the evening to have this conversation. And I'm glad to be here. I'm glad that Caprice invited me. And so I'm looking forward to joining in along the way.
Thank you, CJ.
January, Taylor.
Hi, I'm January Taylor. I've been a resident of Dubuque for 3 years now. I recently was incarcerated in Dubuque County Jail for 3 months. I came out looking for change. I found the Fountain of Youth. Very good program. I've been in the Fountain of Youth for 9 months. Over that 9-month period, I've seen myself drastically change. So change is not acceptable. Change can happen. I'm living proof of that. So I'm just really excited to be on the panel with you guys so that we could discuss possible ways for other people in the situation similar to mine to know that there is hope, and as long as there's hope, there's room for change, and we can do it.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, Joe Gruber, please.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'd like to thank you all for being here. My name is Joe, and I'm 57 years old. I am a participant in the Fountain of Youth, and I was looking for changes in other aspects of my life. And my cousin introduced me to Caprice, and we had several sit-down talks. And what he is trying to do is amazing to me. I didn't have anyone that when I got out of jail or anything to help guide me along the way or prepare me for a new lifestyle, even to say, because a felony can really mess up with working and everything else, and I didn't have that. And now that I'm on disability, my goal is to follow Caprice, keep his word of change alive, and volunteer as much as I can to help him and help the Fountain of Youth.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caprice.
Joe Kennedy.
My name is Joe Kennedy. I'm the Dubuque County Sheriff. I want to thank Caprice for the invitation to participate tonight. I think this should be a pretty good discussion, and hopefully something that we can look forward to, and to creating a change within our system. It's funny because I got got the email about this, and just last week when we had our COVID issue with the jail, I was speaking to one of the inmates, and he was telling me about his plans for when he reenters society, and he said, I know you like seeing me around here, and I said, no, we don't like seeing you around here, but we want to see you succeed on the outside just like anybody else, so you don't have to keep coming back here. And and that's truly what I believe, and what I believe corrections is meant to be, is to take people that maybe made a bad choice in life, and correct that behavior, and help them be successful on the outside. So I'm looking forward to seeing where the discussion leads us tonight.
Thank you. Joanne Jarman, please. Unmute.
You on mute?
I can hear you.
All right. You can hear me now?
Yep.
All right. My name is Juwan Jarman. I live here in the community in Dubuque. Like I was saying, I've been down here for maybe about 14 years. I've been in trouble in and out. So I met a lot of the jail staff here. And it's kind of funny hearing Joe Kennedy talk. I always seen him. I never heard him before in person. But I just wanted to hear him and talk about the change, too, in the community. Because it's like me being in a lot of trouble myself, is like it's never been really the jail staff here. Like since Joe Kennedy here, I wanted to say that the sheriffs here, are they wonderful. You know what I mean? Like I met a lot of people, and that's a big part of the reason why I changed the way I think. I mean, I'm not perfect, but just meeting people who in correction, who always wanted to guide me and wanted to see me do better, and was never hard on me and treated me with respect. I'm not used to that. Like the jails I come from and the places I be, I was never treated, with respect by them. So I was always even madder at the situation, even if I put myself in it, because the people around me didn't have the right guidance, even though they was in correction. So I believe, from being in Iowa and growing up here now and starting to know better, I think the biggest part for most men who want to change or going through this situation, or women, is when you get here to help. You know what I mean? I think people in corrections should be more involved with your transition on the outside. And, it should be equal opportunity for felons, because, we are the people that need fixed. And I mean, maybe that's worded wrong, but, I think the attention is supposed to be on us, but not in a way that, we pushed out of society. Help us be members of society again. You know what I mean? Like, help with that transition. Because, a lot of people call it jail talk, but when you go inside an institution or something like that, you sober-minded, and you really, see your mothers cry and people hurt from you being in this situation, and it strengthens you in a way, but you also become compassionate and you want to do better. So it's not just jail talk, but when you get back out here, it's so hard again. Everything, always because you went to jail. But what happened to the being corrected part? You know what I mean? Like, if I went through this and I paid my debt and I've been corrected, I think I should have an opportunity to prove that. I should have an opportunity to have employment or help with housing or anything, because I've been corrected. Give me that chance, and then if I go back again, I understand my consequences. But, I think we need to work on being corrected on the outside through that transition of probation or parole. Sorry, I took all the time, but I had to get that out.
Yeah, we gonna get around to that, Juwan.
Thank you.
Right now, just your introduction, but great introduction.
Jesse Becker, please.
Hi, my name's Jessie Becker. Was born and raised here in Dubuque. Grew up downtown Dubuque my whole life. I first entered into the court system when I was 12 years old. Pretty much attended every sort of resource they could have gave between Turning Point, Independence, detention centers, treatment centers, all the way to Burlington, Iowa. Once I was 18, I was able, she told me the next step was, your next step's prison if you can't figure this out. Fortunately, I ended up pregnant at 20, had my daughter, did really good for a long time. About last year, I was involved in some drug use and alcohol that landed me in county jail for a couple months. And then I worked through the Elm Street Correctional Facility, which I was able to blow through there just by doing what's expected and doing what needed to be for me to actually change and get back to my life. I joined Caprice at the Fountain of Youth. I think it's a great program. It challenges you personally on a specific level, not just a whole spectrum. It's more geared towards your own person, because we're all different. We all have different needs. So as you're challenging yourself, and just like January said, you still have some sort of hope. It gives you a reason to move on. I also think we have a lot of other issues that maybe are concerning with like mental health. Also drug addiction. I mean, it's so easy here in town. I mean, it has no face to it. It's everybody and anybody. And it's pretty much everybody and anybody that I know has experienced these things. So it's kind of hard to get out of something that you grew up into, a whole generation's grown into it, and you just watch everybody pretty much drop like flies around you, and you kind of hope that everyone can just maybe open their eyes, but for some reason it's not coming as quickly to others. So I'm hoping to be involved in some possible things that Caprice has coming up, because I've seen a shift in myself, and just the experience I've had over the last year of my life had made me realize a lot of things, and that I do have some sort of purpose other than what I've been doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jess.
Shelley Seitz, please.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Shelley Seitz. I work for Iowa Workforce Development. I'm a reentry coordinator there, working at the admin office in Des Moines. Prior to that, I worked with the Iowa Department of Corrections. So I too started my journey 21 years ago with Katrina. So we get to work pretty close together now, and that's fun. Change, that's the buzzword today. Things have certainly changed in the last 21 years with Department of Corrections and reentry. I think back, and I don't know if reentry was the buzzword. I don't know if barriers was, a buzzword. And now I feel like it is. I feel like that is, very important for us to think about all the challenges that, any person has in life. And then you take extra challenges and trials that people go through, trying to leave incarceration with that hope and to be successful and find meaning in their life. So I'm really excited to be on the workforce side of things, where I can help see that change in people and help connect them to employment services to be one thing that they can focus on, one piece of that foundation for them to have employment. So I'm very excited for tonight's Real Talk.
Very nice. Thank you. And Mike Van Milligan, please.
Well, thank you. Mike Van Milligan, I'm the city manager in Dubuque, and I've been the city manager for 27 years. We're thrilled to work with a great partner like Fountain of Youth and Caprice Jones, and we're so glad that he came to Dubuque and that he brought this concept to Dubuque. And we look forward to partnering with everybody that is on this phone to make this be the best that it can be. So thank you for inviting me.
Okay. Thank you. We are ahead of schedule, which for some of us who are windy, that's amazing. I'm talking about myself. So next on our agenda is a message, further message from our Director of Department of Corrections, Beth Skinner, please.
Excellent. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So how much time do I have?
You have approximately 10 minutes-ish.
An hour. Okay, great. Thank you. No, it's great to hear everyone and the experience. This, like I said, this is a great combination of people coming together with a passion around criminal justice and criminal justice reform. I think now, today, in this environment, we have a huge opportunity. What I mean by that is around criminal justice reform. You have some key leaders in our state, in our communities, in our counties that want to see a difference in criminal justice, want to see rehabilitation at the forefront, want to see and also believe that people can change. And I also think that what's important, which I'm just going to talk about briefly, is we have a governor that is really involved and committed and passionate about criminal justice reform. She's a big advocate for second chances, and she believes people can change. She's been there herself, as many of you probably already know that. We have a lot of bipartisan support for criminal justice reform. So I just think we are in, Caprice and all the stuff that you're doing. It's just perfect timing to really kind of hit the ground running. One thing I've learned about criminal justice reform, which is no surprise to anyone here, it really is a marathon, not a sprint. Change will take time, but if you have the right players and the right people that are passionate about getting it done, we're going to get it done. But I want you all to know that as a director of corrections, that we want to see that reform. We want to see that change, and we want to see people have second chances. And I want to see the 95% of people that leave our prisons not come back. And it all comes down to reentry and getting people prepared and giving the right wraparound comprehensive services people need in order to be successful. Briefly, I want to talk about some of the things that are happening around criminal justice reform, specifically around the Governor's Focus Committee. So I'm a member of that committee, and we made some recommendations to the governor in regards to some reforms that we think that should happen. One of those was voter restoration. What we did is we had all the group came together and decided these key things we want to see changes across criminal justice systems that we think will improve people's outcomes for reentry and success. One of them was voter restoration. One of the things that Department of Corrections has done is they auto-populated the voter restoration form that goes to the governor's office. It basically auto-populates 12 of the 15 items in there. The parole officer or the counselor will work with that individual to get it filled out, get a plan of payment set up, and help them move towards that voter restoration and the right to vote. As you all know, and I think everyone believes here, that's a really important thing for people to have that opportunity as productive and community members to have that opportunity to vote. The other thing is we've done with Shelley and her Director Townsend with the governor is we're doing these reentry roundtables. Unfortunately, COVID kind of hit us hard. We were planning on doing 6 roundtables across the state. We've completed 3 at this point in time, but the goal was to go out and engage employers and have employers talk on panels about the benefits of hiring people that have had a criminal background, what the barriers are, and then people that with lived experience talking about how having a job, a living wage, a sustainable wage has changed their life. And so having the governor there, the director of Iowa Workforce Development, and myself talking to people and talking to employers and talking about the benefits there is to bringing, hiring these individuals. So that's one of the things we're doing around reform is we'll continue to have those conversations with employers to make sure that they understand the benefits and how it helps with reintegration and desistance. So those things are very, very important. The other thing we did too is we looked at the high set. One of the things we have done over the years in corrections is that we really solely focused on those from 21 and under in terms of that. If they didn't have a high set, it was mandatory for them to complete that. Well, what we have done through this reform is that we have opened it up to everyone. We believe everyone should have build that kind of social and human capital. So the Department of Corrections is working on providing education to all. So if people don't have their high set, we're working on making sure that everyone has the opportunity to receive their high set, because we also know if people want to get into apprenticeship programs, they have to have their high set as well. So that's one of the things too, that's really important that we're working on right now. We're also working on post-secondary education. Again, we know that education and employment is a pathway to desistance. And when I say desistance, I mean a crime-free life. So we want to, again, build that, social and human capital. So we work with Iowa Central. We have a grant through Ascendium and Lumina that's helping us with our infrastructure in terms of building a more robust post-secondary education program in our institutions. So that's something we're working on as well. The other thing, I'm trying not to steal either Shelley's or Katrina's thunder too much and get in too deep in the weeds with some of this stuff. But we're also have a partnership with DOT, and Katrina's going to talk about that more, about having people having license, an ID when they walk out the door, because many people have challenges just be able to get benefits without a license or a driver's license or ID. And those are some of the things that we're focusing on. We continue at the Iowa Department of Correction realize that we don't warehouse people. We want to make sure people get the treatment that they need to address the reasons what brought them to us to begin with. And that's one of Katrina's big roles is making sure people get the treatment they need before they get out. And again, we really believe in rehabilitation. We believe in using evidence-based practices. We believe in partnership. As Katrina mentioned, we can't do this alone. In order for us to really impact individuals that are in the criminal justice system, we have to work across systems. We can't do it, we can't have a vacuum in terms of we're everything to everyone. We have to rely on Caprice. We have to rely on workforce development. We have to rely on the sheriffs. We have to rely on people that have lived experience that are here with us today to help work with us so we can make sure people are successful. And so that's all I have. And I'll kind of pause there because I don't want to go over my time too much, but those are some of the things that we've been working on, some of the things that are really important to us. And so I'm sure later on we'll have some questions, but thank you for allow me to have this time. So I appreciate it.
Hold on, do I got a second to ask a question?
Sure, of course.
Okay. So one of the questions I want to ask, just from a standpoint of, just from a human standpoint, what are your thoughts about, okay, when you first got the job as director, what did you want to change?
I wanted us as a system to be more rehabilitative and less punitive. Now, but there has to be a balanced approach. You have to strike a balance. There's victims, there's crimes that have been committed, but we know that 95% of people are coming out. So my biggest thing was we need to get people treatment, address the issues that brought them to us to begin with. That has to be a high priority. If you warehouse people, you can expect the same result. If you put people in prison and not treat the issue, substance abuse issue, mental health issue, if it's impulse control, a problem-solving issue, if you don't address those issues, people are going to return back, and they do. And so one of the things I really wanted to do is I wanted to come in and say, we need to have more treatment. We need to be more rehabilitative, but we also have to balance that, Caprice, with, of course, accountability and safe operations and make sure that the public and community is safe. To me, when we provide treatment and we address those factors that brought people in, we're also hopefully not creating more victims. So we're also doing something for victims and future victims as well, because we're doing our job. That to me was one of the important things for me to come in was say, are the things that we're doing in corrections, evidence-based, are going to have impact? What are the things we need to bring in? What kind of training do we need to bring in? What do we need to do in order to really make an impact to make sure that our communities are safer and then these individuals that are getting out have an opportunity to succeed?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Katrina.
So now this is the time for our participants to respond to our discussion. And we have that until about 5:40.
Okay, so I'll take it from here with them. So basically, I'm gonna call on each of you guys to give me your personal testimonials to like what have life been like for you. You know, upon release, whatever point you got out, I want y'all to walk us through it, but I want y'all to be like a disciplined approach, right? To the time, be mindful of the time, so we can be, you know, so we can get everybody to get involved.
And
So,
Capri, sorry
yeah.
about that. We have until about 5:45. I don't want to cut anyone short.
Okay, perfect. So what y'all got is 5 minutes apiece. So I want to start off with Jawan. And look, when I do like this, that means you got 1 minute left. All right. And it ain't for you, Jawan. That's for the whole crew. All right. You gotta take yourself off mute.
I'm off.
Yeah, you off now.
Yeah. So you can re-ask me the question again.
So what I want you to talk about is, so you just recently was released out of county jail, right?
Yeah.
And what did you experience upon your release, and what was your thought process upon okay? Some people, they get out of jail and they think about going right back to what they was doing. But was that not you? And if that was not you, what was on your mind?
No, that's not me. I don't think that's a lot of people. I think that interpretation is like misconstrued a little bit. But me personally, when I got out of jail, you know, I was ready to go forward with life, because like it's not new to me. Like I've been on that journey, even when I made the mistakes. It's like a mistake just stopped me. You know what I mean? Like I was never like, I'm already at the age and I made enough mistakes to know right from wrong. So when I get stopped and I fall short, I already have a plan. So, you know, my story probably a little different. But when I re-entered, like what would I say? It'd be hard for someone in a situation like me, like who don't have the type of support system I might have, like, you know, affordable house. That's hard, because even looking for work, you know what I mean, is like some people don't have nobody. So when you get here, it's like, you know, it's over. So, you know, even while you applying for work, and, you know, if you don't have these type of support groups, or you don't have anyone or nobody there for you, like, what are you going to do in the meantime upon release? After that bus ticket, where you go from there? You see what I'm saying? Like, and that's what a headache, that's what everything gets to reverse. Everything that you sat in jail and thought about, you know, all your plans and everything that you manifested over the time you sat there, is like, when you get to the real world, all that got to be rewritten. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you know, it was easy to sit there with that 3 hots and a cot and plan these things. And hey, you know, you're not been filled with all this joy and this motivation to go out and do the right thing. But the moment you hit is like, the plan is not going to go unless you have that support system already set up. Where are you going to go? What are you going to do? And then even going to like a halfway house and things like that. It's a brilliant program. Don't get me wrong. Like, I've been through there. That's what taught me how to get out here and get a job. You know what I mean? I'm not going to lie. Before I came to Iowa and went through that, I didn't even never had a job in my life. So I learned a lot going through that. But financially, it's a struggle. So you're going to be mad at all the people who are trying to help you, and all the rules going to sound crazy, but really it's the financial burden on everyone. You know what I mean? You get a job quicker in the halfway house than you do walking the streets. So it's not even about that part. It's just the financial gain. So I think, you know, corrections should probably try. I don't know what they can and can't do. Like I say, the system, going through the system, I ain't had a problem with it personally. It's just re-entering. What do you do when you re-enter? So it's like, I think, I don't know what all corrections can do is what I was going to say, but I think if it's a way to, if you can sit there and first, like, look at a person's background from not just their crimes, but what they do inside of the jail when they arrest, like, you know, tickets, all that should play a part in how you evaluate this person re-entering society and what he needs or she needs. And I think, you know, if you worked with these people individually and you gave these people housing and things like that and made, you know, certain type of ways for them, and if you didn't follow a certain protocol or you didn't reach a certain expectation, then you should be punished severely or whatever, because you was granted these opportunities. But if you put me right back on the streets, everything you told me eventually will go away if I don't have that support that I need. You know what I mean?
Thank you. Appreciate it. So next, the next person, and thank Jawan. He left you an extra minute. So January.
I am January, as you all know. My situation with Dubuque is a little different. When I got in trouble in Dubuque, I never had a record. I'd never done jail. So that alone to me was a wake-up call. 3 months of the best years of my life, 3 months, because I went in there in a mindset of I was addicted to drugs. I was just doing the most. And 3 months in jail taught me a lot. I had nothing to do but think. And I knew I wanted to change. Now, the part that was the most effective to me was when I got out of jail. And the reason that being is because when I went into jail, I didn't go into jail on a drug charge. So there was no reinforcement to my addiction. It was basically letting me back out in the same background that I just left, the same playgrounds, the same things, the same people. Me being the person that I am and the will that I had, and I knew I wanted change, I went to seek change. So a lot of people don't have that direction. I wanted it enough that I went to go find it. What I found the hardest part was, where did I go to find it? Because I wasn't on a drug charge, so I wasn't made to go live in a facility. I wasn't made to go get in sassy. There isn't any other programs but the Fountain of Youth. So that's where I started at, was Fountain of Youth. I went and enrolled in Partners in Change. And then I knew I didn't want to be on drugs anymore. So I enrolled myself in Sassy. I did 6 months of Sassy on my own. The problem that I have, the problem that I find is I have a lot of friends in the similar situation that aren't as strong. So they don't have the opportunity that I had, because I seek it myself. A lot of them are forced to change. Change comes when you want it. Change starts within. So I guess what I would like to see done with our system is we need more programs that allow people the opportunity to change. Because a lot of the programs that I've been a part of, I was a part of Sassy, I went through it with flying colors because I knew what I wanted, I knew what I needed, and I went for it. But what I didn't know that until I sat in jail for 3 months. It took me 3 months to be alone, sober, to find my mindset, to start to find where I was, who I was, what did I want, where I wanted to go. So Fountain of Youth actually was my go-to. I went to Fountain of Youth, he challenged me, and with that support alone, I had a background now. Now I had a background with an aggravated misdemeanor charge, and nobody wants a burglary charge. Nobody wants them to work for them. Nobody wants to give them an apartment. I've been out of jail since October. I just got an apartment today, and I got an apartment on a whim because the landlord sat down with me, we went over my background, I explained my story to them, and they thought that they should give me a chance. The same thing with my first job when I got out of jail. I worked at a CPA firm because an individual said, I will give you that chance. Had that individual not offered me that chance, where would I be right now? So I think a lot of that is we need to find ways, because if I wasn't strong-willed, that enough would have been enough to say, I can't do it. There's nothing here for me. Like, it's so easy to go back where I was than it was to actually do something to enforce my change. And that's the point I want to stress, is that there are some of us that are really wanting change, and we're really seeking change, and we're really trying to seek change, but our resources just aren't there. So it's so easy to go back where we were, because in our mindset, we don't have nothing else. And I think that's a real problem here in Iowa, because I've seen it so many times, and now I myself am an example of it. And so I can't let those kind of pitfalls set me back. I have those to motivate me to move forward, to be a voice for others that can't be a voice, to be a part of the change that I wish to seek.
Thank you, January.
You're welcome.
Jesse.
All right, so I might need you to ask me a question, Caprice.
Okay.
To spit it out.
So Jesse, so you basically, you've been through the system at a young age, and you was trapped in that system until adulthood. What was it like when you entered into the halfway house the last time you was in there, and what is it like? What's the struggles that you face coming out? What's the obstacles that you are up against, and what you think do it take for like a person that really do want to change their life? What are the type of things that's needed to help that?
So for some reason, I had a really bad drinking problem. When I was 12 years old, I got a public intox. I don't know how or why or what. By the time I was 18, 20, I'm a repeat offender. I do have a couple charges that I'm not proud of. I have assault on peace officers. I have 3 assault on peace officers. I mean, what was the problem there? And a lot of it, I think, boils down to is my mental health. Like why I continued to put myself and things into my body just because I couldn't deal with my own mind. When I got out of jail, because I was on drugs, it was so hard to come back out because it's like you don't even know who you are anymore. I mean, all you know is like what you were doing before jail. I mean, I had my whole life together before that, but it is so easy just to fall down the rabbit hole. And I mean, it doesn't even really give you warning sometimes. So, I mean, one of my biggest struggles was like with my depression and anxiety. Before, when I would have anxiety or depression, I'd drink so I didn't have to feel it. I wouldn't have to deal with it. So I've been steady working with like Hillcrest, Crescent, getting referrals to other agencies, to help me with trying to find certain therapists, one for my daughter, one for myself. A lot of it's also been having hope and confidence in yourself. Working through the halfway house was very difficult. I mean, you're pretty much alone. Like it's you, and the rules are so simple that it seems so hard. And after you get over the whole fact that you accept where you're at and what you need to do to get to where you want to be is when you actually make the change. First time I met Caprice, I went over to a couple groups, and then there was a mention of having a trauma group. And as growing up and everything I've been through in my life, I've experienced a lot of trauma. A lot of it I hold on to. I don't know why. It's just something it's hard to let go of. So, I mean, I completed that group. I learned a lot of stuff. And then I decided to join Partners in Change. And I mean, throughout my whole life, I've always thought, oh, it'd be nice to have like a life coach. I don't know how you go about it. People probably get paid a lot of money to do so or be that type of person. But having Caprice there, weekly, every week, it's given me one more thing to sit there and question myself. One more person that, holds me accountable, someone I have respect for, someone who isn't just there because they have to be or they were ordered to be. And it definitely makes me want to continue, because it's nice to have other people have confidence in you, not like you just are going to disappoint them. I mean, because to continually feel like all you are is a disappointment and you continue to make mistakes, whether you mean to or not, just by choices, it's just, it's habit, and it's habits that need to be broken. So with every program I've went through and completed, I have pretty much every tool that you would probably need to know. But like Caprice says, it's ignorant or you're ignorant. And everything that I've learned since I was 12, I have all the information where I should be successful. But it's also, when you're out there on your own, it's so easy to forget where you come from and what you've gone through. But when you connect with people who understand and have similar experiences that want the same difference, then it's easier for you to have hope to continue on. And I think that's it.
Thank you, Jesse. And Jesse, I saw on the side of you was actually your reason for breathing, which is your daughter.
Yeah.
And so
Yep.
for her being able to have hope in this world, being a person that, you know, come from a marginalized background, you know, her daughter needs to see hope as well. So I thank you for being a warrior. Thank you. Joe, we done cut into your time, man. You got 3 minutes.
Sorry, Joe.
Nope, that's no problem. I think for me, one of the biggest things is I would like to see some kind of reward for felons. Like I said, I knew right away the day I was arrested. I wasn't mad at the police officer. I wasn't mad at any of the law enforcement. I was mad at myself. I got myself into this, and the only way to get myself out was to change. The biggest factor that made me change was listening to my daughter, who was 3 years old at the time, crying for me to come home because I couldn't come home because I had to spend the night in jail. And that she had never been without me. So I decided I had to change right away. The one thing that hurts me, I've done all the things right. I have not had even a parking ticket since I was arrested. I went and joined SASE on my own, joined a counselor, joined NA, and I was doing these programs for about 7 months before my court date actually came up, which the judge was kind enough to consider and cut my time way, way, way down because I had showed a consistent effort into staying clean and changing my life. Now, the one thing that I'm suffering from right now is I hate the idea that at some point, if I pass away, I'm going to pass away as a felon. And I think if we could set up some kind of program that rewards people that has shown a certain amount of time, and I'm not talking like a couple of years, I'm talking like 10, 15, 20 years of good behavior, no problems, that we shouldn't have to pay $2,500 to get a felony scratched off our record and beg to have that done when it was a non-violent felony. Now, I can understand if it's a violent felony and it's a severe assault or something like that. Mine was a non-violent. It was a drug-related situation. And I would love to know that at some point in my life, I could be rewarded for my good behavior and my changed ways, that felony would no longer follow me around. That would be a blessing to me. I'd like to be able to tell my youngest daughter, who just turned 18 yesterday, your dad's no longer a felon. You know, and that's something that I would love to have the state look at and into. And I don't know if it's feasible, and I'm sure if it wasn't or isn't, that there's good reason for that. But I would really like to have some kind of program that it would give us hope. I know it would have helped me through a lot of tough times deciding on whether I wanted to go back to that lifestyle or keep pushing forward. Lucky for me, I kept pushing forward. But I think if other people had that incentive, that, hey, look, I can't screw this up. I can get this felony off my record. I got to stay straight. And I think it would really help a lot of people.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate all of you guys that's participants on this call. Hopefully that insight is something that was taken to heart, and we could put into practice at some point. And Joe, maybe Joe would die with not a felon on his record. So, Katrina.
Yes. So the next part of the agenda, we will be hearing from Amber Connolly and Shelley Seitz. Caprice, we gave them about 15 minutes and then gave director about 10 minutes for a response. So I'm just wondering, I know that Amber and Shelley have a lot of good information. So if they run over a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I will go alphabetically. Amber Connolly, welcome.
Thanks, Katrina. Thanks again. You know, the more I do this, surprisingly, I'm starting my 14th year. Doesn't even seem possible, but the more I've been doing this, the more I realize that I need to listen even more. And after listening today to you guys, it's really apparent our focus on these resources, these community resources. And I know someone had mentioned it, you know, the Department of Corrections has definitely realized that we cannot do this alone. We need our community resources. And that's kind of where my focus has been lately, is trying to bring in more resources into the prison to try to help prepare people for when they get out. And, you know, after listening to you guys today too, it's like it's just even more evident that that's where our focus needs to be, is finding more resources, as resources are continually changing, but just being dedicated to finding those resources. One of the recent things that we are doing now, you know, post COVID-19, is participating in virtual type events. Recently today, we also had an employer, Union Pacific Railroad, hold a virtual recruitment session. So we're really trying to tap into technology, which has been a little difficult here at Anamosa, but we are making our way there. And bringing those opportunities to our men and women in the facilities. Another thing that I kind of participate in here is our apprenticeship program. And right now, one of my focuses in the prisons is really trying to upskill people, find opportunities for especially these young men here at Anamosa to build skills. And the apprenticeship program does just that. We are constantly trying to add new programs. We recently added a CAD program, computer aided design, which are very great jobs. And we've recently added that to try to help these men gain skills to make them even more employable when they get out. And we're constantly adding to those things. We are also adding certifications to our apprenticeship programs to try to help folks become more employable out there. For example, we are adding, you know, like a welding certification. So not just an apprenticeship program through the Department of Labor, but actually being certified as a welder, being certified as a pesticide applicator, or things like that, to try to help folks find employment. And Director Skinner mentioned the roundtables that the governor, the suggestions to the governor about the roundtables, and that just kind of sparked my mind a little bit. I've had so much outpouring inquiries to me from the roundtable. I have several employers who are contacting me, and one who just doesn't stop contacting me. It's great. He wants to bring in his heavy equipment inside of the prison to have guys jump on it and use it. And I'm just, okay, I got to get some stuff figured out with that first. I don't think we can just bring in your bulldozer, but so it's been great to really open up the walls, so to speak, in here and bring people in to see what's going on inside of here. And the response from the employers has been really great. So I want to continue to kind of push that that way. I'm hoping the transition for guys as they go out, they have more opportunities. I was invited to be a part of the economic development here in Jones County, and I got to go to that and listen to employers, and we got to swap stories and share information about what they're looking for and what we can provide. And so really, like I said, again, open up those walls so that we can bring people in and show what's going on here, and then bring in those services to the guys in here to hopefully get them in touch with them before they leave. Another thing we've done is Waterloo particularly has done a really great job of calling in and speaking with our incarcerated individuals before they get out, and just saying, hey, what do you need help with? what can we do right now? What are we, is it mental health appointments? I'm working with one gentleman right now where we're getting mental health appointments scheduled. We're getting paperwork done. Where she's actually even sent in a couple of job applications to help out. So trying to do some more of that work to really make that a smoother transition. Those are just a few things we're doing in here that I wanted to share, but I really appreciate being on this call and listening to you guys, because it really just affirms that fact that we can't do this alone. We need those resources. And one of the biggest things I need to do is just keep my foot down on the gas and keep finding those resources to make them available for people. So thank you.
Thank you, Amber.
Thank you, Amber. Shelley Seitz, please.
Good evening, everyone. This is Shelley Seitz. Again, I'm with Workforce Development. I'm a reentry coordinator there. So kind of like Amber, I wanted to share some fun stuff and innovative ways that we're trying to reach this target population to get them into our workforce. So we connect returning citizens to workforce services. We have reentry advisors in 4 of our institutions. There I go, I said R. 4 of Department of Corrections institutions. Yeah, out of the 9 in Iowa. So perfect world. Yeah, I would love to have one at every institution to make sure that every single person who's incarcerated has all the employment services at their fingertips before they are even out the door. We'll get there someday. But they offer employment services and basically kind of do what Amber does. She doesn't have an advisor there, so she does all the apprenticeship stuff, and they also help with that stuff too. Basically making sure that we're connecting people to our American Job Centers when they leave. You probably heard them called the one-stop shops. Again, that's the Iowa Works umbrella under workforce development, where general public can go to get free services for workforce. We just recently kind of connected with community-based corrections. I think we have an awesome partnership that grows weekly with Department of Corrections, but the other side of that partnership is our community-based corrections. So our probation and parole officers, the ones in the field, the ones that are trying to be that person of authority to make sure that they're guiding in the right direction, but yet trying to be a coach to help people when they are down and need help getting back up, and also know all these resources. And it's tough. I think January spoke about it, that we need more resources and providers, and it's really difficult on a daily basis to kind of keep track of where we can send people for services. So I think that's hopefully something that's going to improve between workforce and community-based corrections, kind of looking at the districts across the state, looking at our workforce regions across the state, wanting to know who is in your community that's a provider that can help. I like to call them reentry service providers. Usually it's your nonprofits or your faith-based groups, those people that are out there on the ground, kind of like Katrina said earlier, basically offering any assistance that they can to make sure that there's a successful reentry for the person. And we also, again, Director Skinner talked about the employer and reentry roundtables. Those were fun. I think the goal there was to bring the employers in and to let them see all the wonderful opportunities inside Department of Corrections and see the person as an individual, not as a statistic, not as a number, not as somebody that's maybe going to reoffend. And we had a huge turnout actually of those reentry service providers. They wanted in on it. They didn't want to get left behind. They wanted to make sure they came with brochures and cards and contact information to, again, be another resource in the institution. That's huge. And I think moving forward, COVID has kind of put a damper on things. I think the momentum that I felt back in February was so overwhelming and exciting. And then I was kind of like, oh, well, now what are we going to do? Unemployment rates are going to go up. People don't have jobs. That's a trigger for, this population to not have employment, to not be able to support themselves, to not have structure, and to be able to feel, that self-worth that you get with providing and being a productive member in society. So I think we need to continue networking with employers and find what we call second chance friendly employers. We have a lot of employers across the state that are interested. They want to know more. They want to be part of someone's success story. We have lots of employer incentives that we offer, from the bonding program to the work opportunity tax credit to another state level income tax deduction that the employer could possibly qualify for. So that's kind of my wheelhouse. I try to spend the majority of my time getting on the phone or now getting on these Zoom meetings and trying to connect people, employers to our institutions, knowing that Last year, I think the numbers were just under 6,000 men and women that were released. So most of them are going to need an employment. So trying to connect them, and also, again, that educational piece for the employers. There's a lot of great talent out there that I think they could tap into. And it's always great when we can get employers to share with other employers. This is what we're doing. This is how we've changed our hiring practices. We have employers that have brought, counselors on site. Some have daycare providers on site. Some have rideshare vans. That there's no way that if you want to work that you are going to miss work, because they guarantee that every shift you will have a safe and reliable transportation. So those are huge things that we're trying to work with those employers to, again, tap into this workforce, try to remove some of those barriers if we can. A barrier shouldn't be that you can't get a job. We don't want to see a felony conviction be a lifetime of, poverty and unemployment because you can't get past the application process. So there's some talks on the statewide level of that too. Whether you call it move the box or fair chance hiring, we're trying to get the applicant in front of the employer to make that impression to show their skill set, and then go from there. Then look at a background check. Some employers have shared they've had company policies in place for 50, 60 years, and they've just never looked at it and didn't really want to change it, or didn't know if it made sense to change it, from a business standpoint. So we're having some important conversations. I think sometimes they're uncomfortable, but I think a lot of good feedback is coming out of that, again, to try to get us in the right direction where we can expand the workforce. What else did I want to mention? Oh, again, tapping into the reentry service providers. Caprice has been a wonderful resource in the Dubuque area. It was kind of that part of the state where you couldn't really send people over the border for services, so you kind of wanted to keep them on that side of the Iowa line. And it's just been a wonderful resource that popped up, and he has networked with other agencies, and that kind of makes the world go round, the reentry world, as I call it. So we're very thankful for Caprice and the services he's providing to the community. And the last thing I wanted to mention, Workforce Development has partnered with Coursera. It's an online learning program, and you can go and do free online courses. It's a great thing, a way to try to keep learning happening while we're in this pandemic, right? We don't know when normal is going to come back. We don't know what normal is going to look and feel like. So we're trying to get, creative ways to keep people learning and keep people connected. So that's on our website, iowaworkforcedevelopment.gov. Not usually one of those people that, wants to give a plug, but it's free online certificates and courses, and it's a really good resource to go out there and get some work done. So unless anyone has any questions, that's all I have to share today.
Thank you both very much. So next on our agenda, again, Beth, just your response to the discussion so far from all of the participants. Any thoughts?
I mean, this has been, I'm just sitting here, I have so many notes in front of me right now. I'm taking so many notes. I can't help myself. There's a lot of main themes I'm hearing. I might say those if I have an opportunity to kind of round things up, but I just want to make some comments in terms of, what Amber and Rochelle has shared in terms of employment. We have to diversify that portfolio in terms of how we expand that, how we deliver those employment services. They need to be on the inside and they need to be on the outside. There has to be that bridge, right? So I think historically in reentry, not just with employment, but with mental health treatment, with substance abuse treatment, with other types of cognitive behavioral programming, there's been that fragmentation, which means that people drop through the cracks when they get out. And that could be a resource issue, as mentioned earlier, about not having the resources. So I think we have to really be thoughtful and methodical about really that reentry process, is really doing a lot of that on the inside, getting people ready, but doing that warm handoff, as I would call it, and making sure, as Shelley here or Rochelle has mentioned, is that making sure those resources are available for when people get out. The one-stops, making sure that people have the opportunity to be able to get employment services, education, which is the roundtables that were mentioned in terms of That's so important to educate employers the benefits and how highly skilled these individuals are and how passionate and ready they are to come to work. I've heard from numerous employers over the years, when I especially worked in residential, they say that there's that educational piece. And the other piece too is removing barriers, as Rochelle mentioned too, is like removing certain barriers. You know, occupational licensing is the one thing. People that have to check the box and things like that. It's like, you know, get people out in front of employers first before you ask them the criminal record question. So I just think there's so many pieces to this, but I think that, to me, the word is continue to build those resources in our communities, whether it be just employment, but maybe, you know, also mental health, substance abuse, and other treatment, and making sure that people aren't falling through the cracks and those resources are available. But there's a lot of work to be done, obviously, just from our conversations and listening to the individuals that have these lived experiences, that we have a long way to go, but I'm very optimistic because I think everyone here, and I think a lot of people are very passionate about helping build those resources so people can be successful. But I'm very excited. You know, I wish this was like a 3 or 4 hour panel discussion, because we could talk about so much, but I'm excited. I'm taking notes. I think there's so much opportunity here for all of us to work together.
I want to say one thing. So a gentleman that just did 30 years in the Illinois Department of Corrections. He was 14 years old when he went in. Well, not in Illinois Department of Corrections until he was, I think, 17 or 18 once he was old enough. But he got sentenced to life in prison. And he was a good friend of mine growing up. And I hadn't seen him since he was 14 because he'd been in prison with life without parole. And he's been out for 3 months now. And he just made a statement. He's been out for 3 months and he just made a statement. He said to you, Beth, he said, Illinois Department of Corrections can learn from you. So he's been hearing your approach to things. So he's been sizing Iowa State prisons up to like the approach that you guys are putting in place to take, as opposed to what he just left.
Wow. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Go ahead, Katrina.
So next on the agenda is discussing new approaches to reentry, and I'm going to make the assumption that that's me. Yes. Yep. Okay.
Absolutely.
I want to share maybe not so new approaches, but approaches that I'm so proud of us and other state agencies, how we have come together to make great changes for the people that we serve. In 2014, DHS and Iowa Department of Corrections got together and said, there are a lot of people that leave prison who have mental health issues, physical health issues. You know, we need to work on their health care coverage. And so we developed a process, took many months, but now since 2014, we have a process where a person, either at end of sentence or going out on parole supervision, we can assist them in enrolling in state Medicaid so that they can either walk out of the institution with their healthcare coverage card in the hand, or it will be waiting for them at their release site. And I wish I had the numbers. I can give those numbers to you, Caprice, but we have served thousands of people. And just, you know, Juwan talked about housing and how important that is. Healthcare coverage is so important. And so that is one thing that we have done in the past and we still currently do that I'm just so proud of and so thankful for. As Amber mentioned, we do have our registered apprenticeship programs, and last I knew we had 27, and now I think I need to add CAD to our list, so 28 registered apprenticeship programs. Again, with housing, with employment, with healthcare coverage, those are your basic human needs, right? And again, if you don't have that assistance, and maybe you've never had those basic human needs in your life and you don't know how to get them, that's what I see our role is to help, is to walk alongside and just say, you know, this is what we've done. This is what we can do together. This is what you can do. This is your support. Another reentry, I call it reentry, but I think it's more keeping families together. The Children's Justice Network and the Drake Law Clinic and DHS approached Department of Corrections and said, hey, you know, you guys got to do something about your visiting policy, because when we have a child who is court involved with Department of Human Services, their guardian wants to bring the child to see mom or dad who's incarcerated, right? Our visiting policy and our barriers that we had put up, maybe those children would not be able to see their parents for up to 6 months. It would take that long. So we really, really, really saw the importance of keeping those families together. And so we looked at our process and we were able to change a 6-month waiting period for those kids to see their parents to about a week. And so we just have this whole separate process where the DHS workers can send that visiting application right to a special email within the Department of Corrections. And some of the judges, no offense to judges, but some of the judges, they didn't want, when we were working with them, they didn't want to normalize prison. And we said, we totally understand that, but take a look at the pictures of our visiting rooms. And this is where we don't normalize prison, but we keep that bond of mother and child, father and child. And so that is another thing that I could probably cry about, just because I'm so happy that those kids can see parents. Director Skinner mentioned that we are working with Department of Transportation, and right now we have a gentleman that has an office in our prison at the Newton Correctional Facility, and he works for DOT, and he actually can assist the men that are there at Newton in getting their state IDs. And so he can issue those state IDs right there. So that has been a huge help, because we know you really can't do anything without that state ID. So this is a pilot project that we're doing at Newton. We are hopeful and confident that we will see the numbers of people that we assist with those state IDs and getting released into the community. And again, as Shelley talked about, with those workforce advisors in 4 of our prisons, it would be nice to increase those numbers, but also with the DOT people, increase the numbers of those people too, to help with those state IDs. Where am I going on time? Okay, I'm good. Also, Iowa Central Community College was selected to participate in the Pell Grant pilot project. And so men and women were able to work towards their associate's degree. And I have met a couple people who have received their associate's degree, worked very hard, and are now in the community, and they're continuing their education. And just, again, it's one of those basic human needs, right? They chose to go the degree route, and look what that can do for their employment, for their housing, for healthcare, all of that. Other people choose the registered apprenticeship program routes. Again, look at those basic human needs that that we're assisting with and that we believe in. And we believe that people have the right to look into those and be successful with those. I'm trying to look through my notes to see any other new approaches to reentry. I cannot think of any of other new ones. Again, as I was talking to Caprice when we started, a lot of the work that I do is with outside agencies. And again, with our situation right now with COVID, a lot of those, even reentry conferences, all different types of reentry fairs and meetings and symposiums have been canceled because of COVID-19. But that doesn't stop us from still meeting virtually, still keeping that fire in our bellies, because we all have that common goal of, like Amber said, listening and helping. Sometimes people ask me, how can you even work in corrections, and isn't prison just awful? And I love prison because I see prison as hope. I see prison as people being able to focus on themselves. I see prison, and I know the staff that we have, and the staff that we have care very much. And I think Director mentioned it a little bit, but we have put a lot of training into staff so that everyone, whether it be a correctional counselor, psychologist, food services, health services, correctional officers, we are training people up and giving them more tools. And so that, I think, is a huge part of reentry, is training our staff up, making sure that they're working with people most effectively. And I think our staff don't realize that they might be the very first person who believed in the person who's incarcerated. And just the importance of that rapport, and just how important it is, again, to hold people accountable, but then also, where's the learning in it? Jawan said the correcting, where's that part of it? And so I think a huge part of reentry is the training that we have provided to our staff.
Thank you, Katrina.
Director or Amber or Shelley, what am I missing?
Could I add something?
Yes.
So when we're looking at the new approaches, right? So also, could you take away from what January, Jesse, Jawan, and Joe mentioned as some of the things that's still a challenge? Could you take that and compile their thought process of what they added, as far as with the notes that you comprised, and see what could you do to address those issues some type of way?
Absolutely.
See, what they are is actually they are the voices for the unheard voices.
Yes. And housing, I happen to be on the Iowa Homelessness Council as well. And housing, boy, it's tough. It's tough for people in general. It's tough for people who have that felony with them. And so I'm always having conversations on what more can we do? What more can we do? What resources are out there? I can't remember who said it, but I love the words, the community offering chances. And January, maybe that was you that said that, but I'm seeing employers, I'm seeing volunteers, I'm seeing citizens taking the chance on their neighbor. When we were in Rockwell City at the prison up there for a reentry roundtable, an employer was there and was so excited to announce that she had just offered a man who was still incarcerated a job that day. And he said yes. You know, it's things like that. It's those neighbors, it's giving chances. So yeah, I took a lot of notes. Jawan had talked about with the residential facilities, with that financial burden, you know, that is something we can look at. So I took notes, I listened. I'm always open to listening more. And so look forward to spending more time with all of you, either virtually or when COVID is done, and coming up with solutions.
Thank you. So Katrina, I mean, well, for the whole group, and I want to let Beth know this per se, to let her know that this particular group that you committed to joining today, one of the Iowa citizens actually just made an Iowa citizen made a statement and said, "This discussion is amazing." This is unprecedented. So this is something that no one probably ever thought would ever happen, where you have former incarcerated people being a part of the solutions to have their lives matter. So where we at, Katrina?
We have 2 minutes until Mike Van Milligan.
Well, with those 2 minutes, I want to give a quick minute to CJ May and a quick minute to Joe. It's a minute now. I throw that finger, that minute, the minute. So what you want to share, what you take from this, CJ May, that you could help transform your role in the city of Dubuque moving forward? I know it's a work in progress, but where we going to start?
Well, Caprice, I think that, well, first of all, I want to thank you for organizing this, and I want to thank Jesse and January and Joanne and Joe for coming here and speaking frankly and openly. I'm sure it's hard, and that's probably underselling it. So, but I think when it comes to reentry, to me, I think we as a state, have dropped the ball is on the mental health side of things, and I think a lot of those resources were taken away over the course of many years and many sessions of the legislature, and I really think that is where we will get some real traction, and I think that's where we can really help folks when they're re-entering. I wouldn't want them to feel like they're literally walked to the door, the front gate, whatever, and said, good luck. But I've got a feeling that's how they feel often. And, it would be very frightening. It would be overwhelming. I mean, to have that sort of a load dropped on you at that point in time. And I'm sure leading up to that, I'm sure that's difficult because they're worried and they're wondering. And so I really think that, again, our resources are best spent, on services, on programs, like on this end of the system, on the reentry for the folks, so that they have the tools they need to move forward. And we have drug court here in Dubuque, and we meet once a week, and during COVID, so for that 10 or probably more like 12 weeks, we didn't meet. And of the 20 members, all but about 16 of them relapsed. And it really came down to, they're there every week, they're held accountable, they just didn't have the structure, and it was abundantly clear that is something they needed. And hopefully, that they would learn some tools as they go through that and, get toward their graduation. And I think this is no different. I don't think we can expect people to be incarcerated and then just hand them off and say, there you go, you've done your time, you've paid your dues, do well. It takes a lot of transitioning. And that's certainly one thing I've seen in the drug court program, where it takes a long time for the people to be comfortable, in their own lives and then their own abilities to understand that they can do this, because they probably in their upbringing didn't have a lot of that. And that's a sad thing, and it makes me sad to think that. But I was blessed that I had wonderful parents and all of those things that put me in a spot to be successful, but many people don't. And so those are tools that they need to be given, and they need to be nurtured, and they need to have the opportunity to learn those and to perfect those so that they can move on and be successful in their own lives. And I think, again, resources spent there probably will get more mileage out of all of that than simply just, incarcerating people and then just putting them out to the public. So those are my thoughts, Caprice.
Thank you, CJ.
You bet.
Joe.
Thanks, Caprice. Yeah, I know CJ seemed to take up most of my time, but
you got 30 seconds.
All right. Well, first of all, I just want to thank Juwan for pointing out my staff. you know, I always say that our staff or we are a reflection of our staff, and our staff is a reflection of us. So the fact that he feels that they're treating people the right way with respect up there, I certainly appreciate that, and I hope that that's the way that they are treating everybody. But you know, the one thing that I'd just like to touch on is there's a lot of great ideas, but I think the most important thing that I hear in this whole thing is just the education piece, whether it be the formal education, apprenticeships, things like that. Because you know, with I think studies have shown that the higher level of education, the more money or more financially secure people are further down the road. So you know, I think that's the thing that to me should be the biggest focus, is finding a way to get people the education they need to get farther on in life. But I know we got to keep moving, so I'll wrap it up.
Thanks, Joe.
Yep.
Who next, Katrina?
Mike Van Milligan, please.
How many minutes he got?
About 3.
Thank you, Caprice, for inviting me. As city manager of Dubuque, the mayor and city council has directed that our goal is to create an equitable community of choice built on the 4 pillars of sustainability, resiliency, equity, and compassion. Now, the way we do this is through planning, partnerships, and people. And first, I want to say something about planning. If you ever saw Alice in Wonderland, there's one particular scene where Alice reaches a fork in the road. Alice asks the Cheshire Cat which way she should go at the fork in the road, and the Cheshire Cat asks Alice where she wants to get to. Alice says, "I don't know." Then the Cheshire Cat says, "Then it doesn't matter which way you go." So here in Dubuque, we say, plan your work and work your plan. I hope today is a part of developing that plan on top of what the state of Iowa is already doing. And back to planning, partnerships, and people. So partnerships. I'm excited that on this call are important partners, especially you, Caprice, and the Fountain of Youth. 2 potential partners not on the call are Beth Townsend of the Iowa Workforce Development and Debbie Durham of the Iowa Economic Development Authority, and also she leads the Iowa Finance Authority. And I think they would be key partners, as well as the community colleges, in achieving the goals. Back to planning, partnerships, and people. So people are the key ingredient, and the Fountain of Youth, Partners in Change, and others are bringing people to the table. And I'm so proud of the people on this call who are willing to share their story. So thank you, Jesse, January, Juwan, and Joe. In Dubuque, our goal is to let people know that by our actions that we care, with the goal of providing people hope that they can achieve their personal goals. And I think that is what we are talking about tonight. So I want to thank you, Dr. Skinner, for being with us today. Thank you, Caprice, for setting this up and inviting me. And Caprice and I have agreed on the principle of today is the first day of the rest of your life. And I look forward to helping the state of Iowa, as hopefully you're going to look forward to setting up statewide Fountain of Youth programs in partnership with Caprice. And thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. So Katrina, is it on me?
Yes.
All right, so in closing, I want to do something innovative, but I also want to propose to Beth Skinner and also Katrina and also Shelly to have a further conversation with me so we can work on some follow-ups to this conversation, and we can begin to probably have some discussions about how we can begin to probably start these holistic programs to really assist the reentry approach. So I'll be reaching out to you guys separately with that meeting is set up. And so the participants, I thank you guys. You guys was amazing. Y'all was historical. You guys are trailblazers with leading in this state and in this world, because it took a lot of courage to do what y'all did today, and also it took a lot of emotional intelligence, as well as a lot of ingenuity to do what you guys did, which was y'all presented yourselves professionally in a realm of individuals that always probably been professional. So I thank you guys. And I want to do something. I want to equalize everybody right now. And I want you guys to be very vulnerable. So we all on this call, we agree that we are stronger together, right? So what I want y'all to do is, the people that's from the corrections departments and also from the state and from the county, I want you guys to say to individual people that y'all pick, any one of them. I want you to say to January, to Joe, to Jesse, or Jawan. And I'll call y'all names, and then y'all just pick whoever y'all say. And I want you to say, I need you. And then it's gonna be reversed. I want to call Jesse, Jawan, January, and Joe, and I'm gonna call out each individual that's in the corrections departments. I want you to say to them, I need you. And then we all gonna end as one cohesive group to say, we all are in this together. So, starting with Beth Skinner.
Joe, I need you.
Amber Connolly.
Juwan, I need you.
Shelley.
January, I need you.
CJ.
Jesse, I need you.
Katrina.
Jawan, I need you.
Joe.
Beth, I need you.
Joe Kennedy.
I'm sorry. Caprice, I need you too.
Oh, Joe Kennedy. It's Joe Kennedy. I'm sorry, I should have said Joe Kennedy.
That's all right. Jawan, I need you.
Mike Van Milligan.
Juwan, I need you.
And so Jesse.
Say, Katrina, I need you.
January.
Beth, I need you.
Jawan. You gotta take.
Well, I need you, Caprice, Katrina, Beth, who else? Joe, John. I need everybody because you guys are in a position to choose wisely the people that really care about our futures. And I made a lot of mistakes, but I'm raising kids, and I came up in a bad community, but I always been community oriented, if that makes sense. And I do believe in change. I made a lot of mistakes just growing up and really being a product of my environment. So and people took that and sometimes they use that as an excuse, but it's a definition that it really exists, like being a product, because I never wanted to go through none of the stuff I go through. Like being in jail, that's insane, that's crazy. I brought myself back there many a times, just not knowing how to get it right. Not that I didn't want to. So I need all y'all to understand that there's a lot of us who genuine out here, and we do want better communities. We want better for our kids. We want better for ourselves. And, to see y'all listening and really showing, passion that y'all care and really want to see a change in our future mean a lot to me. I can't really censor that or put a time frame on me saying that, but I'm going to get that out real quick. So I need all y'all to understand that, we want to change. We do believe in that. That's one thing that, I can speak for everybody and say, we never wanted this. We never wanted to live with chaos. We never wanted murder. We never wanted rape, adultery. We never wanted none of this stuff. We just here. And it's like, we need y'all to listen and take y'all expertise and put it to a science for us so we can live happily again. We can be everybody all good in the community. We don't have to commit crimes and go in and out of jail. And one more thing, like reason why I got so much respect for the jail staff and everybody, Not like they just let me do what I want and nothing like that. It's the love they showed me. They made me feel like that I could really be somebody if I, you know, when I talk to them, they listen and they, man, you know, you got a head on your shoulders, and they motivated me to create a conscience for me. So now when I do things, I think about it. Like, I don't want to disappoint a lot of people, you know? So, I mean, I just want y'all to listen, and hopefully we get a better community, a better world one day.
Thank you. Joe, real quick. Joe Gruber,
Yes,
who do you need?
I thought you already got me once. I need Beth Skinner, and I need you, Caprice.
Oh, I'm not on the list. So, that said, sorry for going over, but you know, there's a lot to pack in. So, all together, we need each other.
We need
each other.
Each other.
Each other.
Let's try this again. 1, 2, 3. We need
Each
We
other.
need each other.
All right, y'all.
We're
Thank
all in
y'all.
this together.
Night, everybody.